Hi, I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. Well, today we're going to make that tomato pie that Mr. Bucky wants, and he's been working out in the garden, so I think he probably deserves the pie. So I wanted to do a demonstration of the crust because I'm going to do it just a little bit different. So here we go. We've got 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I use white lily, but you want to make sure it's all-purpose. To that, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of just regular salt. Actually, I think that might be sea salt. And I'm going to use the yolk of 1 egg. Now, it's interesting, these eggs that I got this time are not Eggland Best, and you see the yolk broke. So, of course, that doesn't make any difference in this, but I think that's very interesting. So, to the egg, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of ice water, and I'm going to, if I need it, I'll add 1 more. But once I get everything mixed up, I won't know whether I need that extra tablespoon or not. So you want to just mix this up, the egg yolk and the 3 tablespoons of ice water, and just set that aside. I'm going to use 1/2 cup of Crisco, and I'm using this because I want a flaky crust. And I am going to use my hands. So, first thing to do is get this shortening incorporated into the flour. And I just do this with my hands because I think it goes a lot quicker. Just using your hands. Now also, if I need a little more flour, I'll add that, but this should be enough right here. And I'm making, actually, I think it will be a 9-inch pie crust. It's in my bigger pie plate because we're going to do the tomato pie, and of course, you know, I'm hoping my crust doesn't get soggy on the bottom. So just mix that all in until you get it about the size of maybe a pea, a large pea really. Alright, so that should do it. Now I'm going to add my egg and water mixture. Just pour it all in at one time. Actually, I'm going to use my fingers to get all that out, because that egg is what's going to bind this crust together. It'll also make it a pretty crust. So just with your fingers, kind of squish it all together, making sure you get up all that flour so it'll all sort of come together. And I've got my oven preheating to 475 degrees. I know that sounds like a real high temperature, but it actually works. Alright, so we got it up into a bowl, and what I do is just, you know, fold it over one time, then fold it over again, and then I'm going to actually put a little flour on my little roll-out thing here. I've got plastic wrap down. I did get this little pie roller doohickey thing at Walmart the other day for a couple of dollars. So I had one before and I don't know what happened to it. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of press that flour. Normally I don't use flour when I use the plastic wrap, but I just decided I'd better do that this time. Alright, so we've got our crust here, and I'm just going to kind of mash it out into a disc. And it really, when I use one of these little pie rolling out things, I actually don't have any waste on the crust, which is what I like. No waste. So kind of roll it out or press it out as much as you can get it in sort of a little disc there. And of course the whole idea is to try to keep it round. But just a touch more flour on that. And I've got double sheets of plastic here to make them wide enough. Alright, I'm going to go clean my hands and wash out the bowl, and we'll be right back. Alright, we are ready to roll this crust out. And what I do is just start in the middle, go back and forth, then turn it at this angle, turn it at that angle. And then from there, just keep rolling till you get it out to the size you need. We've about got it. Now what I'm going to do is take my top layer of paper off and kind of make this a little neater. See, that little part came out, so just pinch it on there. That right there. Extra over here, we'll put right there. I'm going to straighten this out up here. I know this is a lot of trouble, but you don't waste any this way. You know, I was always throwing away, you know, what was too much with a pie shell. Alright, let's see if we can get this right now. Saran wrap right back on it there now. Let's push that in a little bit. Alright, let's roll it around now. Get those edges a little crisper, we'll say. Alright, that should be just about perfect. And by the way, the Crisco, I know it's not very healthy for you, but I don't think once in a while hurts anything. And it just really makes the best pie crust. And I think the next best thing for making pie crust would be lard. That's right, just regular old lard. Alright, so we're ready to take our plastic wrap off now. What I do in order to try not to make such a mess, I just flip any little flour up on it. Kind of smooth it out. Okay, we're ready to put it in the pie plate. Now, I actually put a little Crisco in my pie plate also because I want it to come out really, really clean when we go to cut the pieces. Alright, so we're ready. Now with the plastic wrap still on it, just try to position it in an even way in the pie plate, and then start in the middle and just mash it into the edges gently. I know I've done a video on the pie crust before, but I thought, heck, I'll just do another one. Alright, so just remove your plastic wrap, and see over here, it's a little short over there, but it's a little long over here. So I'm just going to take my scissors and give it a little patch job right there. Any extra I have, there's some right there. So I just go around with the scissors, cut it off, and patch it right on there. No one will ever know. And I like to use the Crisco because you don't have to go through that thing where you have to chill it in the fridge and all that, you know? Alright, so now I'm going to just prick it with the fork all around the edges. Make sure my patchwork's holding. Alright, so now we're just going to crimp it. I just do it between my two fingers like that. And go all around. It's pretty quick. And this is a Pyrex pie plate. And it's actually 9 inches. I always thought it was 10 inches. But maybe it's just 9. I don't know. I haven't actually measured it. Somehow I always thought it was 10. So this is no exact science here. Just crimp the edge any which way you want to. Now this is going to be a big pie crust. Anyway, we'll be right back, okay? Okay, I finished crimping the edge, and I did poke a few more holes in it with the fork in order to get the little air pockets out. Alright, piece of tin foil, and I put a little Crisco on it, and I know that it will fit inside my pie crust. So I'm just going to very gently put that down because I don't want to disturb my pie crust. And what I use for this are dried beans, and I just use the same ones over and over and over. And the reason you put a little grease or oil or whatever on the back of your aluminum foil because you don't want it to stick to your crust. You want to be able to remove it. Alright, so these are the beans I use for pie crust, and each time I just let them cool and reuse them. So the purpose of this is so you won't get any of those big air bubbles in the crust. Just spread them out. I usually turn my tin foil back because I want the edge of my crust to brown too. So 475 degrees in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes, or like in my oven, takes a little longer. So what I do is after the first 10 minutes I go in and take this out and let it finish browning. Alright, and put it back in for another 5 or 6 minutes. Alright, so we'll be back when this is done. Okay, my crust actually, I think it cooked for about 15 minutes. Anyway, it's ready now, so I'm going to go ahead and dump the balance of this bag of mozzarella cheese in the bottom of it, and this was 2 cups. So 1 cup I'm going to use in the filling, plus 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese, and I've also got 1/2 cup of parmesan cheese. So what I'm going to do is sprinkle this cheese, 1 cup of it, in the bottom of the pie crust. While the pie crust is still hot, I'll get it shredded up here, right in the bottom of it. And of course, it's going to melt down a little bit, which is what I'm looking for. And then we're going to also slice our tomatoes and sweat them for a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that whole 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese in the bottom of that crust. The crust is definitely still hot. So what will happen is the tomatoes will cook down into this cheese, but hopefully I will be able to maintain a crispy bottom crust at least for a day, maybe. Alright, now we're ready to do the tomatoes. Now, this is a fresh tomato pie, and what I've done is taken the peelings off 4 large tomatoes, and I did that by boiling water and then put these down in the boiling water for 30 to 45 seconds. Then dump that water off, immediately put cold water on them, and the skins should slide right off. Alright, let me see if I can get a knife here. Alright, so now I'm going to slice these tomatoes. I did take the core out of the bottom of them too. So we want to slice these and put them down on, these are just old dish towels, really old dish towels. So I'm just slicing them, maybe a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. This was actually a beefsteak tomato, I believe. So hopefully I don't have too many tomatoes. So here's what we're after. we want the salt to cause some of the wateriness of the tomato to go into the towels. And that's going to take probably, I don't know, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. There's when I didn't remove the little stem ends. Let's get that out of there. And by the way, these are vine ripened in Florida. So, and I got them really cheap at the farmer's market because they told me they were too ripe for the grocery stores to take them. So I said, well, if the price is right, I will take them. So I did. Alright, so this is 4 large vine-ripened tomatoes sliced. And they're peeled and the core's been taken out. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is salt them. Just put salt all over them. Now, I'm not going to use any additional salt in the recipe because once you do this, it's kind of like the way you do eggplant or the way I do it. You let the juices run out, sort of. So I'm going to leave these sitting here for, let's just say 15 minutes. And then when I come back, I've got another towel. I'm going to dab them off and we'll be ready to load them in the pie crust. Alright, so we'll be back. Now tomatoes have been sitting here for, that's probably been a good 15 minutes. And I just took another one of my dish towels and just try to soak up, you know, as much of the moisture from them as you can. Alright, so my pie crust is pretty well cooled. And what we're going to do now, let me turn the camera up so you can see, is we're just going to line these big slices of tomato right up in the pie crust. I don't know, these were very large, well, one of them was a very large tomato. So hopefully I haven't gotten too many, because I do want to use them all since I've already sliced them. Yeah, this is going to be a lot. That in the middle. Yeah, that should work out just about right. So it's 4 tomatoes. Of course, a lot of the seeds came out. Alright, so now we're ready to get down to business. By the way, I did this on my little plastic sheet, and all that'll wash right out of the towels. What I do is rinse it out in the kitchen sink and then just put it in the wash. Alright, so now we're ready to finish. So I've got half a cup of mayonnaise, and that's about 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm mixing that all up. And I'm going to add 2 eggs to this. And just beat that all up. Now I'm not going to put my recipe down below this time because this is not a really tried and true tested recipe. So, but anyway, we'll find out if it's going to turn out okay. Alright, so in here, half a cup of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of flour, and 2 whole eggs. And just mix that all up. Now, if you've got fresh basil, this would be the time to use it. I don't have, so I'm going to use dried basil leaves. So I'm just going to sprinkle those very generously right over top of these tomatoes. Very generously. And if you were using fresh basil, you know, 10, 12, even 15 leaves would work. Alright, so now to this mixture I'm going to add 1 cup of mozzarella cheese, shredded of course, and 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. Now you notice I didn't put any additional salt in this recipe because first of all, Parmesan cheese is going to be salty and the tomatoes would have soaked up some of that salt. Alright, so we'll just mix this around a little bit and get it thoroughly mixed. And we're going to dump this right on top of this pie. Now, then we're going to bake the pie at 350 degrees for really 30, maybe even 45 minutes, depending on your oven. The basil smells really good. And again, this is not a tried and tested recipe on my part. I mean, I've made tomato pie before, but never like this. Or not this exact recipe. So if I want to make it again, I'll have to look back on my own video. I will, because I didn't write it down. Alright, now all we're going to do is just spread that evenly as you can right over the tomatoes. Well, these tomatoes, of course, will cook and they'll, go down a bit. So this is what we're going to have for lunch. We are having a late lunch today, and we'll have to let this cool a little bit before we can slice it. So you got a few of the little tomatoes poking through. Alright, we are ready to bake this. I can't think of anything else we should have done and maybe didn't do. So there it is, and oh wait, you couldn't see, sorry. There's what it looks like. Alright, I'm going to put it in the oven, 350 degrees. It's been preheated, and we're going to cook it for about 30 minutes, maybe 45, and that would all depend on your oven, and of course it depends on my oven. Alright, so we'll be back when this is done. Alright, I just took the pie out of the oven, and it looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to have to leave it sitting here on the counter probably a good 30 minutes, let it cool before I cut it. So we're going to be having this for lunch along with a little kale salad. So we'll be back in about 30 minutes or so. Okay, here is the tomato pie. I went ahead and cut it. I didn't let it cool completely, so some of the crust kind of crumbled, but the bottom crust is crispy. Now, here's the little kale salad I'm serving with this. I'll tell you real quick how to make this. Take the stems off your kale and then wash it and, kind of dry it off a little bit, and then put some olive oil and salt on there and really massage it. It'll go down in volume. And then I added a little mayonnaise, a little vinegar, just a few drops, and some red onions, and just a teeny bit of sugar, and mixed it all up, and it tastes exactly like coleslaw. You just have to chew it a little more. So there it is. My piece really fell apart because I took mine out first, and again it's still pretty warm, which is why it kind of came apart. Now there's the one that's still in the pie plate. So I wish they were all pretty like that, but they're not. But anyway, we're ready to eat. There's our iced tea, and we will see y'all next time. Okay, since I didn't taste of the pie before I cut the film off, Mr. Bucky, I'm filming.
Okay. This is just super.
All right, you like it?
Of course I like it.
All right, this is his second piece. So anyway, did you like the kale salad?
Yeah, that's just great to go with it.
You thought it went well together?
Complements it real well.
Yeah.
This kale salad with that, I don't know what kind of dressing is that.
That's just mayonnaise. About 2 little teaspoons of mayonnaise mixed in. I thought it tasted just like coleslaw.
Well, this tomato pie is a winner. This is you hit a home run with this one.
You think so?
Yep.
All right, so that's his second piece. Now, it didn't stay together real well because I cut it when it was still pretty warm. Actually, it was kind of hot. But anyway, all right, so I hope y'all will try this. I'm not going to write down the recipe. Y'all just have to look at the video and figure it out because I didn't write it down. But anyway, this the other pies I fixed like this, I didn't like them so much because the bottom crust got really soggy. But with this one, by putting that cheese in there and also the cheese and the Parmesan cheese in the bottom of the crust while it was still hot from the oven, it kind of melted. And there's my trim dogs. Look at them. Yeah, they need to bark when I do a video. Okay, they're saying hi to Barkley the devil dog. That's what they're doing. Yeah. Anyway, my floor is pretty messy here because I'm trimming dogs, and Anyway, y'all want to say hello? Can you say hello? Peppy's head. I haven't trimmed his head yet. These two, and there's Steely. Oh, don't do that on the camera. Yeah, and this is Steely. Steely, did you get trim yesterday? Yeah, I got trim yesterday. Yeah, I did. Anyway, back to the...
This about once a week.
Once a week? Okay, that ain't gonna happen. All right, so we'll see y'all next time. And if you want the recipe, you'll just have to like watch the video and kind of write it down as I'm going along. Now with the coleslaw, I'll tell you, or the kale slaw, that's what we'll call it, kale slaw. What I did was first massage the olive oil, a little bit of olive oil and salt, and kind of got the kale to look that dark green color. And then I added some red onions and a few drops of vinegar, just the apple cider vinegar. And then I added about 2 teaspoons of mayonnaise. So anyway, I thought the kale salad really went well with the tomato pie. All right, you can't even look at the camera, right, Bucky? What do you just... When he starts eating, it's like no end to it. He just doesn't look up from the plate until he's finished. All right, we'll see y'all next time.